America's funniest ladies and one of its biggest stars, who I'm delighted to welcome here tonight, Joan Rivers.
I only got one role. Soft Broadway.
I'll take it.
You can't.
Why not?
Because the part is man in black.
So make her woman in black.
Joan, you can't have a girl playing a boy. They won't go for it.
Manny, you tell him I'll fill their crummy theater night after goddamn night.
Ooh.
You tell him I'll pack that venue so full of rich Jews they'll think Moses himself was doing publicity. I'm the woman in black, Manny. I'm the woman in black.
That was me in a TV drama a few years ago, playing a young Joan Malinsky at the start of her career, before she found international fame as Joan Rivers. Playing her didn't mean massive amounts of research. Joan was making me laugh ever since I can remember. I knew exactly what she meant to me and how inspirational she always was. And now I'm taking you on a little trip through the BBC archives to help explore why comedians like me and comedy lovers everywhere still consider her to be a true pioneer.
You know those kind of people that, I can't gain weight. Well, here's a fat lip.
We'll be finding out about the big moments in her life.
I was on with Johnny Carson, and he said that night, you're going to be a star.
And learning how her family of fans helped her through the darkest of days.
My husband committed suicide, and I was so low. I would walk down the street, and you know how nice it is? A stranger will come up and say, look at this, I lit a candle for you. Doesn't get better.
We'll also see how Joan's comedy always contained a little edge of darkness.
Look at every comedian. We're all complainers. All we are just one group of people going, oh, this is terrible, and oh, that is horrible, and oh, I'm ugly, and oh, no one likes me. And so the minute life is good, I get very nervous.
And apart from anything else, this is a chance to just enjoy some of the best big laughs she delivered to the small screen.
Very often I made love with a man, they'll put a penny on each eye when they're finished. And then, you know,
It's not flattering.
I have to get my vibrator drunk.
So can we talk, Joan Rivers? Let's go. Great Britain, 1984. It's March, a Friday. And at 8:10 in the morning, BBC breakfast time viewers were about to get a rude awakening, the like of which they had never experienced before. Now remember, Joan upset people. Not everything she said was nice, but it was funny. So strap yourselves in for offhand abortion jokes, sex talk, naturally, and brutal takedowns of the super famous. All normal chit-chat for some of us. But for many, what you're about to see was their shocking first encounter with Joan. And it's not a bad place for us to get this journey underway.
Well, our guest this morning has been described as America's funniest, foulest and fastest woman, as well as being a leading comedienne. She's preening herself. She also writes for television and film. She's a Broadway playwright, a film director, the author of a best-selling book, and she's recorded the first ever spoken record to enter the United States top 20. Our guest this morning is Joan Rivers. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, and pure sex, you didn't put that down.
Pure sex?
Pure sex.
That interests you, does it?
No, well, it interests me, but that's as far as it goes.
Yeah.
We later found out, of course, that it interested Frank a lot.
Let's have a little walk around Joan Rivers, as it were, starting with your childhood. I mean, I hear...
Tragic.
Tragic? You were quite ugly, I gather.
Well, I wasn't wanted. My mother tried to have an abortion 2 weeks after I was born, so that starts you.
That's a bad start in life,
It's a bad
isn't it,
start
really?
in life,
Yeah.
you know. And I was just the ugliest child in the history of the United States, you know. Nurse looked at me, looked at the afterbirth and screamed twins. So that just starts you off badly, you would say.
Yes. They were nasty to you at school, were they?
I went to the same school for 12 years, and I was known as the new girl. So I think that tells you. No, it's just very hard, I think, for children to adjust, you know. And I was ugly, and the children didn't like me, and the teachers hated me, and it was a stupid school. Yeah. The English teacher once sent home a note, she can do more better work. So you knew where I was coming from at that point.
Well, since then, you've been keeping amazingly different company.
Yes.
I mean, you made your name on the Johnny Carson show, which is a very big hit show in the United States.
In the States.
I mean, did he make you a star? I mean, he asked you to... You do present the show occasionally, don't you?
Yes, I am. It's the biggest nighttime chat show in the States. It's been going on for 23 years. And I was the first person ever to be made permanent guest hostess. When he goes away, I come in and take over for him. And that's exciting. That's wonderful.
What's your approach to the job? You're a very aggressive kind of
I
raunchy
try to sleep
interviewer.
with anybody that wants me back. That's why. Actually, I got the job by not sleeping around. They said, if you don't go near anybody, get the job. So that's my approach.
Do you dig?
You're just desperate at this point. What?
Do you dig into people's past, into their private lives? You're very famous for that.
No, what I do, and it comes as such a shock to everybody, is I love the tabloids. What do they call them over here? The gossip papers. The Daily Mail. What are the ones, lady found without a head, UFOs found in Sophia Loren's pants. I mean, those are the kind of things, I love those things. Hitler's bar mitzvah pictures. So I read all those things and love them. And what I do when people get on the show with me is I just ask them what I want to know about, rather than polite questions.
Like what?
Oh, with Joan Collins, if she could remember, and if she had a computer with her, how many men she slept with. I mean, these are the kind of things, where a lot of people would not ask. And apparently, a lot of people do want to know this. A lot of people say they don't, but they really do.
Have you ever interviewed Elizabeth Taylor at all?
Oh, well, we can't get her in the studio these days because they don't have double doors, but we had her in when she was thinner. She was going to come back as soon as she finished lunch. She promised me that 2 years ago. So I guess. Yeah, I like Elizabeth Taylor. I think, and she said about me, whoop, 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 so I don't know what she thinks of me. But I think she's terrific. The men still find her sexy, though, even though she's fat. Don't you find her attractive?
I do, and she's losing weight again, I hear.
Not that much. I mean, there's a long way to go. She lost about 118 pounds. That's like a drop in the bucket there, But I hope she loses weight because she's single.
Well, the big story in the tabloids this week was that she'd got off the booze and the drugs. She'd been taking pills for 25 years and had lost weight. So the lady is obviously pulling herself together.
Well, I hope anyone that has the courage, seriously, when they're in the public eye to come out and say, I'm on booze and I'm on pills and I'm going to do this. I had great respect for her for that. I thought that was wonderful.
Now, you saw there some of the reasons why I and many other comedians look on Joan Rivers with awe and envy. She broke new ground. Nobody had a sharper tongue, and nobody could beat her when it came to poking the rich and famous and saying, look, they're just like you. In fact, they're worse than you. But Joan was so on top of her game, she'd happily back off if she found out her jokes had upset anyone vulnerable. And that is rare.
I say in public what you say to your friends on the telephone in private. That's really what I do.
Yes.
So it's not attacking, it's just telling the truth.
But, I mean, all that's fairly offensive. Is there anything that offends you that you wouldn't say?
If it's true, if it's going to hurt anybody, I wouldn't say anything. If Mrs. Reagan, who was our president's wife, I was doing jokes about her son, and the White House called up, and they said, she doesn't mind if you talk about her or her husband. Please don't talk about her children. It hurts her. I never mentioned them again. So anything that hurts anybody, you take it right out. You don't want to offend. We're here to amuse.
You're a devoted mum, though, aren't you?
Yes,
so you're
yes.
one daughter.
I have one daughter, and she's terrific, and she was here last time with me, but it's her birthday, as a matter of fact, tomorrow, isn't it?
Is it? So you won't be here to...
But I'm
won't be
flying
there.
back to the States.
Oh,
15 years ago tomorrow, I was in a hospital in New York City going, get this out of me! And 15 years ago, 9 months, tomorrow night, I was saying the same thing, too.
What have you found? I mean, one or two observations about your trip over here. You've been over here how long? I mean, what have you found to amuse?
That customs wouldn't let me bring my vibrator into the country. Very upset.
In comedy, timing is everything, even time of day. Throwing in vibrator references first thing in the morning takes guts. Critics later accused her of virtually inventing fat shaming, with comments like those she made about Liz Taylor. Joan, however, saw things differently.
It isn't cruel. It's, if you really look, it's much more observational. It's, because I always think back, what have I said that's cruel? And I really can't think of one single line.
I think there's something about you, and I don't know what it is, that people love so much that they forgive you these moments that would be cruel out of the mouth of anybody else.
But they're also true. I was the first one to say Elizabeth Taylor was fat.
I remember that.
do
I
too.
so clearly remember it.
I do too.
I remember you telling that joke about her standing in front of the microwave and saying, "Hurry!"
They pierced her ears, gravy came out. She put on a yellow raincoat. 12 school children tried to board her. I mean, just on and on and on and on.
But how did you think Elizabeth Taylor might feel about that?
I actually was worried. But first of all, let's back up and say, everybody was doing Elizabeth Taylor jokes. I was the only one that got noticed for it, and I always like to think maybe because mine were funnier. But when it was reaching the point that it was really, really top, you know, everyone was talking about it, I had Roddy McDowell, the actor, who was her very good friend, call her. And I said, if it's upsetting her, I'll stop. And she said to him, tell Joan, it doesn't hurt me where I live. Oh. Well, I went home and wrote 12 more jokes.
Yeah, great.
It's fair to say Joan sunk those sharp comedy claws of hers into female celebrities far more than males. But her jokes were especially tailored for a female audience. Not that you would necessarily call her a feminist, but it was another thing that made Joan stand out from the crowd.
You describe yourself as a woman's comedian.
Oh, yes.
Why?
Because everything I talk about really relates to women. I talk about childbirth, and I talk about growing older, and I talk about husbands cheating, and I talk about wives getting itchy feet. It's all from a woman's point of view, never from a man's point of view. Because I think men have it all. A man, as he gets older, he is still a catch. He's 98 years old. Somebody still wants him. He's dead. They prop him and take him around. A woman, you hit 50, the boobs hit the ground, and it is over. You become invisible.
She meant that. But at the same time, invisibility was something Joan left behind as long ago as the 1960s. That was when she became a guest on one of U.S. television's most iconic programs, the first real step on her journey to comedy superstardom.
The Tonight Show was something you aspired to, wasn't it?
Oh,
NBC's
everybody
Tonight
did.
Show.
In those days, if you were on the Tonight Show, they knew. There were only 3 stations in those days. And I was on with Johnny Carson, and he said that night, you're going to be a star, right there on the air. And I looked, I couldn't believe it. And indeed, I was the next day. My life changed overnight.
That was 1965, wasn't
Yeah.
it? That was a real life. You'd had a couple of appearances before that,
But
hadn't
nothing.
you?
And that changed my life overnight.
So the phone started ringing.
Phone.
Who was there?
Everybody. Everybody. Offers that you know, what's that song from Rhinestone Cowboy? Offers coming over the telephone. It was just great. Yeah, it was very exciting. But I knew enough, somewhere, it's all about work. And I said, I've gotten this great, lucky opportunity. I better get to work. And I never stopped writing or working. I would stay in little clubs. I made that opportunity work for me.
You never took it for granted?
Never.
And there was never a point with all the film, the TV, your
never
own
enjoyed
show,
it.
your syndicated column as well?
Everything, yeah. Never.
And you never took it for granted?
And I still don't.
You never thought, I've arrived?
I still wake up in the morning and I say I'm the luckiest woman alive that I'm in this business. And there's a limo downstairs waiting for me that I'm not paying for.
Well,
this is fabulous.
Joan was legendary for the levels of hard work she put in. Yes, she had that unbelievable talent and bravery to unleash killer lines whenever she saw fit, but these were skills she never stopped honing, because right from the start, she planned to be in the comedy game for the long haul.
Do you think that your humor, when you grow old...
Oh, thank God you said when. Go on. I'll tell you Tuesday, right, is the answer.
Will it get softer? Will you mellow? With the advent of old age, about 20 years' time, will we say good old Joan Rivers and all that sweet stuff that she does?
I think I'm going to be the crotchety one on television. I think they're going to say, well, let's see what old Joan has to say about that. Because I have relatives that have gotten older. I had an aunt that was so nice and hit midlife and got so bitchy and was rich. And we kept saying, well, she can't take it with her. The day she died, she shaved her mink coat. The meanest thing. She took her diamond ring and swallowed it as she was dying. Did you ever see 9 people trying to hit her corpse? Get it out. I think I just think I'll be saying, no, this is the way it is. I'd like to mellow out, but I don't think it'll ever happen.
How much of all that we've heard now, and all that we've heard for the last 15 minutes or so, how much of it is the real you? Can you find the real you behind all that?
You have to do a lot of looking on television. The real me, I don't think the public wants to see. Do you know what I'm saying? My job is to be funny.
And being funny was a job Joan took very seriously. She infamously had a filing system of jokes and notes plastered all over her walls full of ideas to help make sure the comic muse never abandoned her. And it never did. Even into her twilight years, Joan, plus a chat show sofa, equaled jaw-dropping laughter from fellow guests as well as the audience, all thinking, did she really just say that?
Now, Joan, because I know you do a lot of work for the Princess Trust.
I'm very into all kinds of charity. Oh, I am national chairwoman. I might as well just go for this now. There's a thing for older people that don't have sex anymore.
Oh, yes?
Which you two would, well, you know. It's for old people that can't get out of the house. It's called Feels on Wheels. And we come by once or twice a month and ring somebody's bell and just jerk them off. And
That's beautiful, Joan. That's beautiful.
It does you good.
You give too much, Joan. You give too much. And what about you, Miss Joan Rivers?
Yes.
Because I hear that you're dating some younger men now.
Well, I tried, because Cher is my good friend, you know, and she hangs out at Toys R Us. So I figured, I'll try. I mean, I don't want to wake up in the morning and look over and think, is this my date or did I give birth last night? So, it doesn't work. I like old guys.
You do? Do you genuinely like old guys?
I like older men because when they're on their knees, first of all, you always think they're proposing, but actually they're looking at your breasts. And it's just, you can read a book while they're inspecting your breasts. Have a good time. You know?
I've never dared ask you on the show.
Well.
I mean, no, but like, so now, how old are you now?
I'm 77, and, don't, don't, that is, all that, I think they applaud because they know they're going to live longer than me. You know, they go, oh, good. Or in New York, they applaud because that means there'll be a new apartment on the market soon. I hate when people say, like, they're 77 years young. I met Vanessa Feltz, and she said to me, here's Joan, she's 77 years young, and I want to say, and here's Vanessa, and she's 350 pounds thin. Age sucks, and you have to face it. And you have these, I've been on this show with some of these older women that still try to look good. No names, Goldie Hawn. And she's my friend, and she says to me, would you believe I got a grown-up daughter? And you go, yes! Yes! And lower your skirt, your nipples are showing. I mean...
There goes the Goldie Hawn booking.
I think every day there's not one more funny thing I can think of. Daily, I think that.
But do you not think that you've got a skill?
No, I think I'm lucky. I improvise every Wednesday night in this little nightclub, and every Wednesday night I think, well, nothing new will come tonight. Nothing. There's nothing more I can think of that's funny. And then something comes, I'm so excited, along with the audience.
And when you work out that material, where are you putting that? You're putting it into your top drawer ready for a big new show?
I just add it in. I've never done a show and then 2 years later came back with a new show. I don't think comedy really works that way. I think of it like a piece of tapestry, and you just keep adding stitches. And it just evolves very slowly, and you may have the same theme, but the jokes are different.
So how was the UK first introduced to the comic force of nature that was Joan Rivers? The success that Joan's intense work rate earned her in 1970s America meant that it was only a matter of time before she exploded here too. And the first to welcome her onto the BBC was fellow comic Bob Monkhouse, who had a similar hard-working ethic and a genuine appreciation of how good Joan was.
Now, you've heard it said before, certain TV programs, that the following may not be suitable for persons of a nervous disposition. Well, I'm giving the same fair warning tonight to anyone of a prudish disposition. The rest of you, stay where you are, sharpen your wits, broaden your minds. Here's Joan Rivers. got to say right away, I am stunned by that outfit. It's beautiful.
Oh, it's not mine, thank
not
you.
yours.
No.
It's not the
I borrowed it
BBC's.
from Boy George. No, what happened was they lost my luggage coming over, and I had no clothes. Luckily, I found this on a chair next to my husband's bed. So, and it came with a garter belt and stockings and a little diaphragm and the whole. Isn't that nice?
How thoughtful of him. You know, when last we met 4 years ago.
Yes.
You were the top star, comedy star in Las Vegas. Now you're the top comedy star in the whole of America. Now, that must rob you of something. I mean, you've got to travel, you've got to work harder. It robs you of the joys of being a homemaker and a housewife.
Oh, sure. I really miss that.
Yeah.
Every woman loves to cook and clean. I mean, you say, I can't wait to get up this morning and kill a roach. I mean, don't you hate house? I don't know about the women. I hate housework. Housework is boring and it is futile. You make the bed, you do the dishes. 6 months later, you got to start all over again. Even when we first got married, because his mother, may she rest in peace, soon, was if you know what I'm telling you, she was a great cook. See, and I pretend I can't. If you can't read a recipe, you can't cook. So from the very start, I would open the cookbook and say, separate 2 eggs, and put one on the chair, one on the floor. That's it. He once said to me, make a soup, and the recipe read, take a leak. That night he went, this smells funny. Well, never asked again.
No, never.
And then it became a case of let's talk about sex, which, as we'll see repeatedly with Joan, was inevitable.
See, I thought I had a normal sex life. I thought, once every year or so, it's nice, you get together. But, I mean, I read these magazines, like multiple orgasm is the big thing in the States now. Do they have it here?
Yep.
I don't know if you have it, but, yeah. Aren't you blessed? But, I mean...
It's in every woman's magazine, talks about multiple orgasms.
Suddenly, it's something else to worry about. I can't even get my toaster to pop up at the same time. It's like, I will achieve... I'll wait. I will achieve multiple orgasms the same day Stevie Wonder hits a hole-in-one. I mean, there is just... My sex life is just... there isn't... My sex life now consists of leaning up against the washing machine. That's it for me. My husband comes home and goes, washing again? Shut up, put on the spin cycle, give me a kiss. I have no sex. A peeping Tom looked in the window and pulled down the shade. And I try. See, I try. That's what's so sad. I try. I put mirrors up over the bed.
That works.
Yeah, now he shaves in bed.
You were very young. Were you young when you were married?
No, I was going to say 28, but then you can add. Yeah, I was glad to get married. I got a nice man as a miracle. I would have gone out with anything. I was desperate. I was 28 years old. And in those days, again, there was a great stigma if you were single and 28, you know. My mother had to sign up, last girl before highway. I mean, she just was like anything. And the reason was, I wasn't anything. I wasn't gorgeous, I wasn't rich, I wasn't outstanding. I was just a girl, you know what I mean? See, if I could do it again with my daughter, thank goodness, and I don't know why, because my husband is nice looking, but he's no gorgeous thing either. But our daughter is very pretty, but I would fix her up ordinarily. I would change everything on her, because I think looks are very important for women.
Really?
Oh, much more than brains. I spit on brains. Education for a woman, I tell my daughter, don't bring me A's, bring me C's with a cup to match.
That daughter was Joan's only child, Melissa, who would eventually find fame alongside her mother, co-presenting a fashion show that saw them both asking celebrities what the hell they'd been thinking when they dressed themselves for various red carpet awards ceremonies.
We went to the Porn Awards. They have a red carpet, I'm not lying to you, on the Porn Awards. It's shaved, but it's a red... They take it seriously. They go, just to have been on top of her is enough of an honor. I mean, they really... But Melissa does the fashion police.
So she produces that, but then the reality show is you living with her.
Yeah.
Joan and Melissa, Joan knows best. But working together, that seems crazy.
Working with family is very hard, but Melissa you know, we shop together and we work together and we decorate together. She's like the gay son I never had. And you know what's great? I get to go with my grandson. And that's very important. I don't want to go here because it's a family show, but I mean, people think they have attractive grandchildren. If you're a pig and your husband's a pig, figure it out. My grandson's going to be in a commercial. They want him in a diaper commercial as a turd.
Joan, you are in actually good company on the couch tonight. Jacob, I don't believe any of these things. No, Jeremy, you like to stir it up. You're not afraid.
Not like that. No, here's my line. Here's Joan's line.
Looks, how she looked, how everyone looked, were a fundamental part of Joan's whole routine. Looks were not just one of the main subjects of her comedy, but also an early source of the big insecurities she'd had as a girl. Insecurities that she believed had actually helped make her funny in the first place.
This is my message, Great Britain. This is my message. Looks count. Education, looks count. I have no sex appeal, and it has screwed me up for life. Peeping Toms look in my window, pull down the shade. You have no idea. My gynecologist examines me by telephone. It is just...
What were you so worried about? Your looks?
My looks. I wasn't... looking back, you're lucky, because if you were attractive, I wouldn't be sitting here with you. I'd be a dentist's wife somewhere, but it was always the looks. You were not a pretty child, you were not attractive, you were not the one sought out, you were not the cheerleader, you were not, you know, the class play. You didn't get to be Snow White. I got to play Dopey, literally. Dopey. Didn't even have a line. And I don't forget. I forgive, but I don't forget. And so the humor covered everything. I was not the class clown. I was the class wit. There's a difference.
How do you achieve these looks?
Oh, money. This is a doctor. I've had 2 plastic surgeries, and we'll go for a 3rd when the time comes. And I always say to the women out there, better to take your money and invest in you. Don't you think so? Better a new face out of an old car than an old face out of a new car.
But aren't you scared of these general anesthetics? I mean,
well, we all have to go. At least I look pretty in the coffin. You know when it changes for a woman? When you no longer have your period. Every woman in this room, enjoy your period. I don't want to hear I got cramps. You are, because the minute you have no period, men couldn't give a shit. I'm telling you. To this day, I carry, because no man will look at you if they think you're over. I still carry tampons in my purse. When no one's looking at me, I open my purse and a tampon drops out. I could just die! It has been so long, if I ever got a tampon, I wouldn't know which end to put in. It is...
Joan had audiences across the world in stitches with her tales of plastic surgery, and bitching about her own saggy boobs and ass helped to make herself the butt of the joke, too.
When you reach a certain age, hair grows on a woman. I mean, I've got 5 o'clock shadow on my ass. I mean, it's just, in some cultures, it's attractive. It's very hard for a woman to get older.
Yeah.
And older men... Because I always faked orgasm, and now these old guys, you know, if you moan and groan in the wrong ear, they don't hear it. It's such a waste.
Of course, mocking yourself helps audiences get on board when you're ridiculing others, too. And Joan's ugliness, her non-existent sex life, and the hideous way she was aging... all her words, not mine, were topics that hit that comedy G-spot again and again.
When you met Edgar, your husband, was that very romantic when you met him first?
4 days.
4 days.
We met and married in 4... this is not a lie, it's not a joke. He had no idea the hair he left to touch he could take with him to the office. It was just... Isn't that romantic?
Yeah.
And he used to run around, he used to open the car door. How many women have married out there for a long time?
Everybody.
Doesn't it change? Doesn't it change? If I want a love bite, I have to put the vacuum cleaner up to my neck. It changes. It upsets me too. I would
like a big romance? Wouldn't you like it to be still
but
romantic?
it changes for men as well.
But then it's the wives. You know, a lot of it has to do with wives not dressing up. Because I used to wear very sexy clothes. I used to wear, like, you know, little birdies and chickies, you know, the whole look. Now, you know, I'm in the nightgown with the toilet paper with the clippies. And you go, I'm ready. He comes to bed with a cross. Back, back, back. I can't blame him. My best birth control now is me. I ran through the bedroom naked this morning, and my husband went, oh, shit, 6 more months of winter. I'm just I said to my husband, what's your favorite sexual position? He said, next door. My body is what I have left is falling. I'm at that age where a woman, every day you get up and go, ah, it's changed place. I mean, my boobies, I bought a black leather brassiere. My husband said, new shoes. You just died. My body is dropping so fast, my gynecologist wears a hard hat. That's terrible.
Everybody can be beautiful inside.
Oh, who cares? I like beauty inside. I'd like to see a man carrying X-ray in his wallet. That is such nonsense.
You don't think being beautiful inside can make you beautiful outside?
I think surgery can make you beautiful outside. And you should, and you should save your money for it. My neighbor, for a while in Los Angeles, is Marlene Dietrich. Do you remember Marlene Dietrich?
Yeah.
She's 85 years old. She looks better than any of us. And it has been pulled and snipped and pulled, and they took all that extra skin. They made another woman that walks right beside her.
In Beverly Hills, they go through marriage quite a lot. You've actually managed to stay married to the same guy?
I'm married. It's the longest marriage in Beverly Hills. It's 17 years, which is... How long are you married?
More than that.
Well, then you know what I'm telling you.
Yes.
I mean, it changes. I mean, in the beginning, you run around, you play games, catch me, you know. Where are you? I'm hiding in the closet. Now I tell him hide in the closet, he locks the door. It just slows down. Well, it's been so long, but I say I'd like to eat out. We go to a restaurant. Now I say I'd like to eat out. He kicks my dish on the porch. It just... And it's my fault, too. Because, how long are you married?
18 years.
Oh, the same. Oh, we
Yeah,
could have had a
about
double
the same,
wedding.
yeah.
That's, the thing is, you don't dress up for each other. Did you live together before?
No.
Oh, don't you want to know these things? I'm telling you. Because when you're living with someone, you dress up. You know what I'm saying? You look great. Now, I mean, like yourself, if you know what I'm telling you. And I have no sex appeal anymore. It's just all over. I mean, my vibrator asked me to put a bag over my head. I mean, it's
The Wogan show was huge. Big family audience. 7 p.m. Needless to say, vibrator jokes were rare, but Joan always liked creating a buzz. When the BBC gave her her own show in the 1980s, its title was her catchphrase, "Can we talk?" But as you're about to see, Joan could just as easily have called it, "Let's talk about sex, baby." Because if you turned up for a chat, it didn't matter who you were. That's what was up for discussion.
Are you married or single? Single, I can't really talk to you about... I mean, do you have a friend? Sometimes you get together? Do you ever feel things are wrong? Like last night I said to my husband, I have a feeling you're faking it. He said, no, I was asleep. See, he gets angry because I read in a book, he's supposed to... Do you talk during sex? Do you talk? Do you just go ooh, ooh, or do you say... No, because I like to talk during sex. My husband got mad because I was saying things like, can I put my ashtray on top of your back?
You know all the guys. You know all the men that I've been with.
Do you think, because we're friends, we can
Yes,
talk.
right.
If you had to rate yourself in bed, very objectively,
yeah,
1 to 10, 10 being just, oh my God, there'll be nobody like her ever again in my life, and 1 being like me, which is you take turns moving. Where would you put? I'm just curious. Give yourself a number. Don't be humble.
It's impossible.
Oh, you know if you're good in bed or not.
I am.
Come on. Okay, it's great. What do you do best?
you're good at the things that you like.
I'm so depressed. How is your love life? How do you rate yourself as a lover?
Oh, I don't do it. I'm not. I know I'm asexual. I should have been a monk. I should have been a monk. No, I'm only interested in myself, and I would regard any kind of relationship as deeply intrusive. I mean, I regard privacy as the most important thing in my life, and anything which invaded that would be a threat. So consequently, I live a life of celibacy. I'm not interested in the other. And from all I hear of other people's adventures in that sphere, I must say I think, well, good luck to them. You're welcome. I wouldn't want any part of it. No. It seems to me a very messy business.
Do you think you're good in bed? Yes. Oh, aren't you lucky? On a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, 10.
10? Did your mother tell you about the facts of life? No. See, my mother never told me. I've always thought that was what was wrong with me. I asked my mother, where am I from? She gave me a fake address in Cleveland. I knew nothing. My wedding night, my husband said, I'm going to blow in your ear. I said, ooh, use a Kleenex. But... and he did.
You see, there is this pig in my life. Now, if I talk about other women, it's dangerous to my health.
Then why don't you marry
She'll break
her?
me in two, you know.
Are you living together? Are you sleeping with Miss Piggy? Can we just get right down to it? Are you sleeping with Miss Piggy? I want to know.
This is
20 years
personal
I watched
stuff.
you on television.
You can't come on television and ask me about... I'm on Sesame Street, for goodness sakes.
It was also on Can We Talk that Joan's decision to stop making jokes about President and Nancy Reagan's kids really paid off. Now this is a great live TV moment. And yes, that is fellow comedy legend Peter Cook sharing Joan's desk.
Is this the White House?
White House.
Is this the White House in the United States of America?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm not calling collect. This is... This is Joan Rivers. I'm a comedian, and I'm an American.
Yes, Miss Rivers.
Could you say it a little? Yeah, could you say it a little warmer? Say yes, Miss Rivers. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
See, I told you I know them. Is Mrs. Reagan around?
Thank you.
Darn. You talk. What do I say?
Well, the usual banter with Mrs. Reagan.
Should I call her Nancy?
Call her Nance.
Call her Nance.
Nance.
Call her Nancy.
Mrs. Reagan. Hello?
Is this Mrs. Reagan?
Is this Joan?
I'm dying. Can we talk? I'm dying. I'm sitting over here and Peter Cook tells me he knows royalty, and I said, I know you. How nice of you to get on. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Just nervous as hell. How is the president?
He's wonderful.
Please.
Are you having a great big success in London?
It's going to be fine, and I'm still here for the Harrods sale if you want anything. Just let me know. What a pleasure to talk to you.
It's wonderful to talk to you, Joan.
Give everybody my best, and I'm very homesick.
I will, and have a happy, healthy New Year.
For all of us and our children. Thank you.
All right.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
So she patched things up with Nancy. But one of the delights with Joan Rivers was relishing how she happily tore into the rich and famous, even though she was part of that very exclusive club herself. Everyone else treated them with kid gloves. With Joan, they got boxing gloves, or worse.
Did you ever see Madonna in a bathing suit? She's very hairy. You've never seen her,
No,
Terry?
I haven't seen her in that, no.
Oh, first time I met her, she raised her arm. I thought Tina Turner was under there.
The head honcho of the fashion police is on the couch. How are we doing, Joan? Okay.
We shouldn't even talk. You look fine, because black makes everybody look thin except Aretha Franklin, but you look good.
You had to go at Russell Crowe the other day.
Oh, well, he's disgusting. He's just... the man has the manners of a turd. The smart ones laugh and know it's silly. And the ones that get offended are the idiots.
The Russell Crowe comments aside, perhaps, that was all largely part of the act. The Joan we all knew was partly a character she was playing, herself, but dialed up to the max. But in 2005, she found herself making headlines when an appearance on a BBC Radio 4 discussion program suddenly exploded in a very real way. The campaigner and broadcaster Darcus Howe made a comment about Joan not liking the term black, which she very much took to be an accusation of racism.
There are hundreds of thousands of Caribbean children. Since black offends Joan, I will make
Black, wait, no, just stop right now. Black does not offend me. How dare you? How dare you say that? Black offends me? You know nothing about me. You sat down here. How dare you?
The use of the term black offends you.
Well, the use of the term black offends me? Where the hell are you coming from? You have got such a chip on your shoulder. I don't give a damn if you're black, white,
I do.
black. I couldn't care less. It's what the person is. And don't you dare call me a racist. I don't know you. And I want an apology.
I don't think it was personal,
He said the term
Joan.
black offends me?
I don't think it was personal, Joan.
Oh, I think it was. When someone says the term black offends Joan, I will not sit here and be sad that. How dare you
I
say
think
that
this is
to
a
me?
language problem.
No, I don't. I think this is a problem in your stupid head.
May we
years old.
continue?
Yes, you sir. But don't you dare call me a racist. Don't you dare call me a racist.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I know, but I will not be. I will not. How dare you?
I have great sympathy with both sides, but I am starting
Both
to feel
sides?
like Oprah.
And you're a racist. I mean, aren't you amazed? I mean, it's, how stupid can somebody say that? Now, please continue, but don't you dare call me that, son of a bitch.
In classic Radio 4 fashion, the discussion then swiftly moved on to an item on plant photography. But that was extreme. Usually, Joan welcomed any verbal comebacks from one of her targets. And in this next particular case, she was absolutely delighted.
You had a bit of a run-in with one of our own lovely ladies, Joan Collins, didn't you?
She's the best. She is the best because she's bitchy back. Do you know what fun it is? Joan Collins is so, because that's what television should be. It should be fun. And she gets on, I'll be bitchy to her, and it's like a tennis match, and she goes whap back. I said to her, you know, because we call her the British Open. I mean, she's just had everything.
Did you say that to her
yes. So I said to her, you know, who is the best man you ever had? And she said to me, your husband. Well, that's great. You just want to say that's what television should be. Why don't we try for Joan Collins tonight?
Call up Joni, see if she is in.
Let's see if Big J is in. Okay. If a child answers, that's her husband. Okay. Joan, if you're listening to this, sitting by your bed, smoking and drinking and taking birth control pills, I know you're there. See how close. Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. Is this Terry Wogan?
6 months after that episode of Can We Talk, Joan was offered her own chat show at home in America. It marked a turning point in her life in ways nobody could have anticipated. The Late Show with Joan Rivers went out in direct competition with her great mentor, Johnny Carson's Tonight Show. He never spoke to her again and banned her from appearing on The Tonight Show for life.
Rupert Murdoch came along and offered me my own nighttime show. And
you rang up Carson to talk about it?
Yeah,
What
which
did
he
you
always
do?
denied. He hung up on me twice. Called him back and he hung up twice. Sad. Sad because
He just
looking
couldn't take
back-
the competition.
No, I think, no, because he let Cosby go and he let David Letterman go. I think he really thought I was his in a very dear way. And obviously I hurt him more than he hurt me when his son died. And this was like 6 years later. I wrote him a letter and said, whatever it is between us, but I'm so terribly sorry. I never heard from him. And I thought, God, what pain he still must feel towards me that in this crisis, he can't even answer that kind of a letter.
You're very disappointed by it still, aren't you, in a way?
Very sad about it, yeah.
Because you were never reconciled with him. After.
Yeah, and I'm at the age now, and I'm also tired and I have a cold, but where you don't like to see things you want nice endings, and you want friends to be friends. You want to say to everybody, we're here.
Even in show business?
Especially in show business.
And then came a genuine tragedy. In 1987, when Joan's new show was starting to struggle, bosses fired her and her husband Edgar, who had a producer role in the program. The workaholic Joan focused on finding an acting role on the stage, which she managed to find, but Edgar, who was severely depressed after his firing and on high levels of medication because of an earlier heart attack, suddenly and unexpectedly took his own life.
My whole life was at that point, just destroyed. And I think if I didn't have my daughter, I would have killed myself. I just couldn't deal with it. And then you turn around and you say, wait a second, I have to deal with it. And it's a year later, it was a year last week that my husband's passed on. And I look back, I think, okay, got my daughter through it, got me through it. My career is stronger than ever now. And we survived.
It was a terrible time. And the phone stopped ringing is where you're going. But one call came through, and it was Betty Davis, who I'd only met once. And she said, Joan, Betty Davis? And I said, yes. And she said, my mother always said, the birds peck at the best fruit. And she hung up.
So you found out you had a friend.
That old lady, isn't that wild? Betty Davis, who I met once, called, had compassion to call me and say that. I thought it was wonderful.
She was the only one?
Because everyone talks about her as mean and a drunk and this and that. I would say, well, my Betty Davis story is a good one.
She was the only one who called?
I was drunk at the time.
How did you get through that period? You talked about anger, you talked about hurt, you talked about...
I don't know. And there was no money. Everything went. Just doing it. Anger.
The anger helped?
Screw you, I'm not down. I'm not going to be down and out. Over, moving on, not going to leave me here in the dust. And that's truly, every time things are really bad, that's exactly what pulls me through. It's not, I can do it again. It's, I'll show you. I'll be back, you bastards.
Despite the trauma of Edgar's death, it wasn't too long before Joan was throwing out jokes along the lines of how, for example, Melissa, if Daddy could see these restaurant menu prices, he'd kill himself all over again.
I like to wake people up. I think we all are very frightened of a lot of things and won't face a lot of things. And I love to turn around and say, this is the truth. Now look at it and then laugh at it. Mm. I do jokes on suicide because my husband committed suicide. Mm. Anything that really, really is so raw for me, I'll just turn it immediately into a joke.
Because you don't have to deal with it that way, or because it's just you're laughing it off?
It makes it dealable.
But when you go home then, there's no joke, and there's something you do actually have to say, no, I've got to deal with this, I've got to get through this.
And I do lectures on survival. It's a whole flip side to me. Yeah. And I get through everything by pushing forward. That's how I get through.
How do you push forward? How do you pick up and push forward?
You must. You must. You cannot wallow. You cannot sit around and say, poor me, my husband has committed suicide. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It's horrible, it's terrible. My husband has committed suicide. Now what do I do to get me and my family through this? Because we cannot change the past.
What was your emotion at the time? Was it sadness, anger?
Anger.
Because
total
he left
anger.
you? Or because
he did this to us, because he left my daughter, and he left me, and he left us at a time where I had lost my television show, and he had left us in a bad moment. But we don't walk in other people's shoes, and I think my husband was just, he had a 5-way bypass. He was on very difficult drugs that they took off the market after they found they were great depressants. So there were extenuating circumstances, and he couldn't, and he was also a Holocaust survivor. And I think he just was tired.
Comedy was her way of facing up to adversity, and so was being open, sharing everything and not bottling things up.
Obviously, you love what you do, and you say that in the show, but you kind of deal with the sort of downsides of it and the sad sides of it. But kind of, do you think bringing them to the fore is a real key part of your humour?
When I'm happy, I'm not funny. Look at every comedian. We're all complainers. All we are just one group of people going, oh, this is terrible, and oh, that is horrible, and oh, I'm ugly, and oh, no one likes me. And so the minute life is good, I get very nervous. I think, uh-oh, this is terrific, but I can't pay the rent.
Is everything out there with you? Is everything public? Is
everything?
Everything?
Well,
you don't worry about that?
I've been doing it since 1969, and the public has been wonderful. They're like family. It's like an they've been through the good times, they've been through the bad. When my husband committed suicide and I was so low, I would walk down the street, and you know how nice it is? A stranger will come up and say, look at this, I lit a candle for you. Doesn't get better.
Can you see yourself going into another relationship?
I don't know if I would ever want to go in that deeply. I'm going out with someone now, and it's wonderful because I'm not letting it go beyond where I'm letting it go. I don't know if I ever want to be that vulnerable again with anybody.
Is it still as easy to shock people as it used to be for you?
Good question. I don't know what shocks you anymore. When Madonna shows her rear end, I mean, when Madonna comes out with a book called Sex, and there she is in every position known to mankind, I think it's much harder to shock people now.
Are you saying, it sounds as though there's shock in your voice there. I mean, is Joan Rivers shockable?
Oh, absolutely. I'm for God and family, truthfully. But I'm in shock at what they allow now.
Are you offended by it?
I'm not offended by it. I guess it's a generational gap. I just think sex should be something very private.
But you yourself have used it within your joke.
Within my jokes, but I've never showed my fanny. They never asked me.
That possibly was an example of Joan trying to be nice. It was Pebble Mill, after all. But claiming that she was shockable seems an almost unbelievable admission. Shocking in itself, in fact. Or it would have been if those feelings or the pain she'd gone through had ever altered her routines. Of course, they never did. And Joan's observations on love, sex, and marriage remained as key to her act and live shows as they had ever been.
Listen to me. Marry for bucks. Marry an old fool with a lot of money and become a second wife. Don't. Any woman in this room that's a first wife, you know what you are a fool. Look at your rings. Look, it'll be a stupid show, but look, I could go through this audience and tell you who's a first wife, who's a second wife. Because first wives marry for love. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love him. Thank you. Thank you for the crummy ring. Thank you for the cloth coat. Second bitch, what the hell is this? What is this, some kind of a joke? You give this piece of garbage to your mother, let her wear it swimming face down. That's why. Every woman in this room, I beg you, think like a second wife. Grab and take. Grab and take. Grab and take. And when you die, whatever you got out of him, you have buried on you. If the next bitch wants it, make her dig for it.
Now, without wanting to read too much into things, that slice of performance happens by chance to capture some Joan Rivers fundamentals. Number 1, a focus on not getting screwed over. Number 2, money over love. And 3, the rings. When it came to jewelry, she knew what she was talking about. In 1990, after the cancellation of her talk show and facing career-ending bankruptcy, Joan had started selling jewelry on a U.S. shopping TV channel. She quite openly called it a place where celebrities went to die, but added, "I had bills to pay." And it paid off big time. Over the years, her jewelry sales earned her millions, and success bred more success. Her reputation as a fashion and style icon with a huge gay following grew and grew. The red carpet shows with her daughter Melissa became big hits, and she even won America's Celebrity Apprentice, rubbing shoulders with a certain future president. But through all that, the main goal always remained the same: make people laugh.
Do people thank you for making them laugh?
They thank me for breaking ground. I get furious because I'm not ready to go on the shelf yet.
No.
You know, I was
Please
doing
don't.
a comic relief, and 6 younger comedians came up and said, "Oh, because of you, we're here." And I thought, time to show these bitches. And I literally went on stage and just, I hate the joke, destroyed the audience and didn't even come back for the bow. You know, it was like, okay, your turn.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, don't you tell me thank you. Learn.
But do punters, do they thank you?
Yes, but they say wonderful. I'll tell you what the joy of it is, besides the joy of the audience and all that. The joy is you're walking down the street and someone will come up and say, "You're the first one that made me laugh since my mother's death." That's a gift from them to me, not from me. After 9/11, and I was right back in the saddle immediately doing terrorist jokes. I mean, not skipping a beat, thinking of who I would have liked to have been in the tower if I had known it was going to happen, couldn't stop it. And I got a little flack for that, but there were a few people I would have said, "Can you meet me for breakfast?" So people would come up to me and say, "You're the first person who has made me laugh since this." And that was very important. I thought that was my little contribution.
In 2005, thanks to an unlikely friendship born out of their shared sense of humor, Joan was here once more as, believe it or not, a guest at the wedding of Charles and Camilla, one of only 4 Americans to attend. This razor-sharp-tongued queen of comedy was, it seemed, at risk of acquiring national treasure status.
You are on a roll, young lady.
Isn't that fabulous at this age?
Well, it is incredible.
All my friends are dead. Nobody's there to appreciate it. I spend half my day working, half my day going to funerals. And the minister always says the same thing. She's in a better place. And you want to go, "No, she's not. She had a house in the Hamptons." But everyone's dead.
Aw. But I know, next year you're going to be 80.
I'm going to be 80 years old. But I know. So, your relatives applaud because I think, how much longer? But you know, it would be nice if tonight I died on your show, because they would get to see a show and a death for the rest of your lives, audience. You would go to dinner parties, they'd say, "You were there?" She was talking, then she fell over. It was amazing. The face didn't move. We thought Botox, but then it really didn't. You know what I hate? I hate the obituaries when they say things like Sadie Schwartz, 106 suddenly, and you go, "Hold it." 106, about time. Time to go. We want the jewelry.
Bearing in mind her subject matter there, Joan would have been amused by the fact that was her last ever live appearance on a BBC show. Just over a year later, she was a guest, once again, on America's Tonight Show, her first invitation back since Johnny Carson banned her almost 30 years earlier. A happy reminder of where her extraordinary success story started. And then sadly, within months, in September 2014, Joan suffered a heart attack in a hospital in New York and died, aged 81. Typically, she had a joke ready for the occasion. "I've had so much plastic surgery, when I die, they'll donate my body to Tupperware." Plastic? Perhaps. Fantastic? Absolutely. At the time, fans and fellow comedians said we'd never see her like again, and no one's proved us wrong yet. But if you disagree, to quote the great lady herself, "Can we talk?"